Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Skr. And I hope you're ready for something different. Tonight, round 3, Circuit of the Americas. And we have a sprint race on our hands, and something a little different. If people have been complaining in real F1 that the sprint races are a little boring, well, Skr have spiced it up a little. There will be no qualifying session tonight, going straight into the sprint race, and the grid will be formed, I believe, in a reverse grid of the championship. So fastest guys at the back, they'll be trying to make their way through the field as much as possible in just 10 laps. I believe that's how long the sprint race is here, 10 laps. And then obviously that will be their starting position for the feature race. So very important to get up through the field as much as you can while not getting damage. A pit stop in the sprint race could mean starting in P20 for the feature race. See a extended break at the start. That is because of a mandated 2-minute break at the beginning of the race, so that everybody has time to figure out their setups. Nobody is rushed into selecting the wrong tire or anything like that. Everyone has an opportunity to start. And then obviously, again, as per normal, before we begin the feature race, a 5-minute break. Good evening, Death Queen. Welcome to the comment section. Welcome back to the stream. It's always... There we go, we've got the red lights. Caught me by surprise, and here we go. Let's get some info up on your screen so we can see who's who and where they are, because this is going to be an interesting one. Swayster leads the way into turn 1. Alpine, ooh, and we've got a... Luckily, the car's ghost, but we have a AlphaTauri spun around there in turn 1. Let's go back to the front. Swayster leads the way from Dixie Killer. Van in P3. Mercedes, Frookie, P4. Revolution. That's your top 5. Mr. M. That was the different driver, same name, winner of your special event race that took part prior to this one. And he's made up a few positions. He's actually up into P18 already. Swayster still holding on to the lead, doing a good job in the first few corners of this race. It's going to be interesting to see how long he can hold it together. Bring up some information, see who's doing what. There we go, we've got your tire info on the screen. I'm actually quite surprised at what an even split it is down the field for mediums and softs. Wonder if those softs runners are just going to have a difficult time towards the end. It's only 10 laps, so unless you're trying to do 10 qualifying laps on them, they should get to the end pretty easily. But I still think the men on mediums will be that much more comfortable at the end of the race. Dixie Killer, P2, hasn't been able to get close enough to Swayster to really make a move. That'll all change in the next lap or so, because DRS will become active. And that changes everything. Frookie doing a great job to hold on to the top 3. Hasn't let them go. But crucially, he's on a set of softs, so he's going to want to get past these cars as quickly and as safely as possible. Remember, damage in this race could send you into the pits and effectively down to P20 for that start of the feature race. Swayster still leads the way at the front. Fricky has made up that position on Van, so the Mercedes passes the Ferrari, now up into P3. Next target will be the Williams. Oh, so close. Don't want to lose a wing. There we go. Fricky up into P2. It's going to be softs versus mediums for the lead. Swayster currently leads the way just under 2 seconds. So he is safe from that DRS zone, and that will be crucial. Top Gun doing what he can, fighting, wants to get himself into that top 5. Revolution making it difficult for him, making the car really wide. And look at the effect it's having down the field. These two are fighting, but there's a further 3 cars behind them just trying to keep their front wing intact. Cars all over the place. At the front, Fricky closing that gap. Those softs definitely showing their advantage at the start of the race. But the crucial thing will be, how long does it take him to get past Swayster? And then when he inevitably does, how much of a gap can he build before those tires start to drop off? It's going to be an interesting race there for the lead, and that's down to tyre strategy. Van P3, harsh cartoon. It's now P4. We have a Ferrari going wide there. Harsh cartoon, fastest lap of the race, a 1:36.2. So difficult to focus on all the action, just one camera angle at a time. We ride with Revolution. Let's see. What are the closest battles on track? Well, closest battle on track is this one right here. Ulrich has now retired from the race. That's a virtual safety car. Hopefully not a full safety car. Hopefully we'll be underway shortly. Fricky now P2 from Swayster. These little moments of virtual safety car, and even if we get a full safety car, that will just help the soft runners not having to drive around the entire full distance of the race at full speed. Could just potentially give them an extra half lap or even a full lap on those tires at the end. And there we go, it has triggered a full safety car. I'm not sure why or how, but full safety car out on lap 4 of 10. And it's going to be interesting to see what people do here now. I don't think we're going to see any pit stops. Field is very close together. Anyone who comes in for a pit stop is going to go to the back of the field. Going to have to stay out there, hold track position. And I was saying a lengthy safety car could really benefit the drivers that are on softs there. Don't believe this will be an extremely long safety car. Safety car has now collected the leader. All of the field is on the lead lap, so I believe that queue will form. And I think at maximum one more lap of this. Well, unless I have a glitch on my screen. But you can see that on your screen too, because your screen is my screen. P14, P15, P16, Ultra Gamer, Afro Virus. They seem to have made a pit stop under the safety car, and for some reason they're on the intermediate. Does their Jeff know something the other Jeffs don't know? That's right, where is Ultra Gamer? If he really is on the Inter, then we'll almost certainly see him. There we go. Drops of rain. No one warned me. I didn't see this. I did not see this coming. Nobody warned me. Usually people talk about it in the comment section, but there is a few drops of rain. But how long will it take for the track to come into intermediate conditions? How much longer can the slick tires hold out? And how much worse does the rain get? But already some spray there at the end of Sector 3, already a lot of spray. And I wonder if this... There we go. I was just going to say, I wonder if this is going to flip things on its head. And I didn't know the rain was coming. I thought those 3 cars had made a huge error. But in fact, they came into the pits. Nobody else did. Possibly the field had passed the pit lane at that stage and couldn't pit. But it means that those 3 men are now P1, P2, P3, Ultra Gamer, Afro Virus, Haas, Red Bull, Mercedes. Remember that this race will determine the grid for your feature race. It's not just about picking up a few points. This is crucial for your race. It's a sprint race as well as a qualifying session. A qualifying session with a ridiculous amount of traffic. And no one's on an out lap or an in lap. Everyone's on a fast lap all the time. Ultra Gamer leads the way from Afro, Virus, P3, Swayster, who's led the majority of the race until that rain started to fall and he came into the pits. He's now in P4, Fricky P5, Van in P6. Those were your top 3, but race has been flipped. Top Gun P7, Madville P8, Harsh Cartoon P9, and Revolution making up your P10, making up the top 10. On the other side of things, P11, Andre, Dixie Killer P12, Mr. Rem P13, and then we've got Visor 14, Pantry Star 15, and then we have Chums and Louis making up the field in 16 and 17. Retirements, Ulrich, Khanboy, Apmagozi, and they will be starting at the back of the field. And if I'm not mistaken, the first car to DNF will be the car to start at the back. I think that whatever number of DNFs you have, it goes in the order of who retired first. There we go, we're at the restart. It's going to be Haas from Afro, Virus P3. Oh, and we have a car going sideways there. Didn't see who that was. I think it was a Red Bull, Madville, just falling down the order. Divan also falling down the order. So just a messy restart. Nobody's really had track time on the wets, or on the inters rather. This will be their first go at it. Remember, no qualifying session. So you've just gone from a dry race, put on inters, driven around slowly behind a safety car, and then suddenly you had to turn into turn 1 on intermediates, probably not knowing what it was going to feel like. Some cars getting it wrong on the main straight. Ultra Gamer leads the way from Afro. And safety car. Well, depending on the length of the safety car, believe we may have a one-lap shootout. Guys wanted an interesting sprint race? Well, there you go. A one-lap sprint to set the grid for the feature race in wet weather conditions. You can't get a more interesting sprint race than that. Top Gun almost getting it wrong. In these sort of conditions, can lose it even at low speed behind the safety car. So important to make sure you don't do anything silly, brake too late, accelerate too hard. You just got to be so careful while still maximizing what you can get out of the car. Safety car has not yet collected your leader. I believe this will be the start of lap 8. Here we go, lap 8 of 10. So safety car will collect the leader this lap. We'll probably have another lap around, which will be lap 9, and then we'll have either a 1 or a 2 lap shootout to the end in these conditions. A lot of spray coming up from the cars. Don't see any standing water for now. Those are the danger signs. When you start seeing standing water, that's when you have to start thinking about the blue wall tire. But there's going to be no time for a blue wall tire. Everyone will be waiting for the safety car to come in, so we can get this thing going once more. And it's going to be 2 laps of absolute madness to the end. But you don't want it to get too crazy. Remember, retirement from this race means a not so favourable starting position for the feature race. Ultra Gamer, Afro Virus, that's your top 3. Safety car will come in this lap, so that'll give us lap 9 and 10. We will have 2 laps remaining. Never thought we'd see 2 full safety cars in a 10 lap race. So now your leader, Afro Ultra Gamer, sorry. The horse now just backing up the field, letting the safety car get up the road. There we go. Now it'd be Ultra Gamer. When does he go? Remember, no passing till the start finish line, and there he goes. Has he caught Afro unawares? No, he hasn't. Now remember, in these conditions, no DRS. Can't rely on DRS anymore. If you're going to make the pass, you need to make the pass. Can't wait for the long straights. There ain't going to be anything helping you there. First few laps of the race, in very stark contrast to the last few laps of the race. We had dry weather, bunch of safety cars, and now we're racing in the wet. Wonder if this wet weather will carry on into the feature race. Doubtful, but it could make things very interesting if it did. Ultra Gamer from Afro. Now Afro is going to go to the inside. Can he get the car stopped? Yes, he can. Nicely done. Holds on to the lead. Was worried he was going to run wide there, but holds on to it. Red Bull takes the lead away from Haas. Now Swayster putting pressure on Virus for P3. and Fricky just behind Swayster. Swayster in a Mercedes sandwich, all sorts of pressure with just 2 laps to go. Harsh Cartoon P6, he is coming under pressure from Madwell. Cars ahead of him have just gotten up the road a little bit, and now another Red Bull makes up a position in a matter of corners. Madwell up into P6. Andre and Revolution switching positions, and ooh, not quite sure what happened there. I almost thought we were going to have 3 wide into turn 1. Close to it, 3 wide into turn 1 in these conditions. Everyone knows how important it is to get as far up the field as possible. Afro. .1 seconds, so that lead does look pretty dominant. Then Virus a further second back. The top 3 look pretty set, but nothing is set in these conditions. So easy to make a mistake. Top Gun P16, thought maybe he was ghosting, but now in sector 3, closing stages of the race, final lap, 10 of 10. Afro leads the way from Ultra Gamer, and that is already a comfortable gap, 1.6 seconds. Afro looks like he's got this. Needs to make sure he doesn't do anything silly in the final 2 corners. Got the penultimate corner right, 1 more to go. There we go, he emerges from that final corner, stays within track limits, goes over the line, takes the victory. Ultra Gamer second. Madwell actually takes P3 because of penalties. Ultra Gamer demoted to P4, and Swayster makes up your top 5. The driver of the day there was Afro, and also the winner. There we go, there's your official standings. Afro taking the race win, then Virus P2, Madwell P3. Good day for Red Bull rather. 2 drivers in the top 3. Ultra Gamer P4, Swayster P5, then we have Harsh Cartoon P6, Fricky P7, Dixie Killer P8, Visor P9, and Andre makes up your top 10. A little further down, Mr. M P11, Chums P12. We have Louis in 13th, Pantry in 14th, Top Gun 15th, Revolution 16, Van 17, Ulrich 18, Convoy 19, and making up your field, an AlphaTauri at Magosi. Now remember, we will go straight into the feature race. Just a mandatory 5-minute break so that drivers can finalize their setups and strategies going into this feature race. Seems like we have clear skies, so shouldn't have any interesting conditions like we did earlier. But for now, we look at an empty, unentertaining pit lane. And as I'm talking to you, I'm seeing a whole lot of cars leaving the lobby. So I presume we have a problem in the lobby. So obviously we will wait for a new lobby to be created. And I will not be stopping the stream. So you can stay on this link, and we'll just wait for our next instructions. Stay with us. I'll just take a little break, but we will stay on this stream, and as soon as we get things going, we'll have visuals again. So I'll be back with you soon. There we go, we are back. Obviously we're just waiting to get underway again. Had a very exciting sprint race, 2 safety cars involved, and then just 2 laps of madness in the end where you really just had to survive. While we're waiting for things to get underway, just a shout out to some of our sponsors. Obviously GeForce Sim. Obviously they offer all SKR members a 5% discount on all racing rigs, so you can get the best prices and quality gaming seats. Elevate your racing rig today. Go have a look at their website and get a 5% discount. Tell them SKR sent you. Seems like we're just waiting for one more car. We started with 20, there are now 19, so we will await that final car and then we should be underway. I'll be back. We are back, and it seems like we will be underway shortly. As you can see, all the green ticks on the right hand side of your screen, that means everybody's getting ready to go. Obviously there was some little issue there in between the sprint race and the feature race. We had to start another lobby. We'll be on our way shortly. Remember, a 5-minute break at the start of the race for everybody to get their setup and strategy as they want it. Who's going to start on the softs? Who's going to start on the mediums? And who's going to be brave enough to start on the hards? Going up the hill towards turn 1, how many positions will they lose to the cars around them on the softer compound? It's going to be an interesting race. Usually we can get a couple of hints from the sprint race of who's going to be quick and who's not going to be quick. But that sprint race was so chaotic, and most of it was done behind a safety car. So we really have no information going into this race whatsoever. It's going to be a good one. Just as a reminder to any of the drivers that may be listening to this, do not press ready, obviously until of the end of that stipulated mandatory break. While we're sitting and looking at this uneventful pit lane, let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors, Work Group SA. Obviously an innovative force in the garment industry, and we can thank them. At the end of the season, they will be providing caps for P1, P2 and P3. But we're still very far from the end of the season, and who are P1, P2 and P3 ultimately going to be? Because I don't know how much we can read into that sprint race, according to who was making overtakes, who was quick, who wasn't. Those were very, very crazy conditions. From DRS trains to safety car to suddenly wet weather. Obviously a little later on tonight, if you're an F1 fan and if you're watching this or driving this, then you probably are. Obviously a little later on tonight, I'm going to do Cota for the real thing. That's going to be interesting. We don't have a Red Bull on the front row. And before anyone attacks me, I'm actually a Red Bull fan. I just think Max starting from P6 could be interesting. If you watched the sprint race last night, you'll know how chaotic turn 1 can be. Such an inviting corner, has such a wide entry, and sometimes as you approach it, that wide entry gives you silly ideas. You think you can go 3 wide, sometimes you even think you can go 4 wide, but when you get to the exit of that corner, you realize it's nowhere near as wide as the entry, and you quickly get run off the circuit. So important to keep your cool into turn 1. And remember the long-term plan. But a very inviting turn 1. So many lines you can take through that corner. Well, this, I suppose I've got to commentate on something, and I'm just looking at an empty pit lane. So, has anyone noticed this crowd? They look terrible. They're so damn excited, and well, there's nothing going on. There isn't even anybody walking across the pit lane, and these guys are just like, wow, there we go. We await the red lights. There they are. And as they go off, we'll be underway. Red Bull leads the way from Mercedes. That's the order they finished the sprint race in, and Virus takes the lead immediately into turn 1. Ultra Gamer also making up position. Afro down to P3 briefly, and now back up into P2. Holding on. And now we go into the Texan Maggots and Beckett's. Such a difficult part of this racetrack. Such an important part of your lap time. Virus leads the way from Afro. Afro doesn't have the greatest start. In fact, he briefly fell down to P3. Quickly corrected that error, got himself back up into P2, and now he's going to apply pressure on Virus. But first, he's got to worry about the horse behind him. Luckily for him, it's a lap 1, and that horse is not equipped with DRS for the time being. Had that been under DRS conditions, it would have been a sure pass. First few laps will be critical. Who can break that DRS zone? They will have a advantage. But if the gaps were to stay as they were now, we would have one long DRS train, practically from P1 to P20. Every single car out on circuit within a second of the car in front of them. But that little stat will surely be broken shortly. Fastest lap of the race. Go the two Red Bulls now, getting awfully close together. You wouldn't want to see an incident there. And does Madwell? There we go. Afro makes up a position on Virus. Now Madwell, second Red Bull. He's going to put Virus under pressure. Virus going to get sick of this. He's been looking in his mirrors and he's been seeing the red and yellow. Guy gets past, looks in his mirrors, and red and yellow is still there. But not for much longer. Madwell now trying to get past. Will he back out of it? He does back out of it. Thought better of it. Not the best line to try and take into that corner if you outbrake yourself. But Madwell, does Virus have some sort of an issue? Does he have some sort of damage? Just falling down the order. But that has allowed the second Red Bull up into P3. And those two Red Bulls can now go on the hunt. Go on the hunt after the American team. Here in the USA, Ultra Gamer leading the way. Could you imagine the headlines if Haas won in the USA? Well, at SKR, those sort of results can happen. Ultra Gamer, how much longer can he hold on to this? Now we are in lap 3. Next time we get a DRX activation point, Afro is going to be able to open up that rear wing, and if he's as close as he is now, surely Ultra Gamer has almost no chance of defending that lead for much longer. Needs to try and open up that gap. Can't afford to make any mistakes, and as I say that, I think he took a little bit more curb than he would have wanted to. Let's let Afro come right up on the back of that gearbox, and Madwell right up on the back of his teammate. Afro needs to get by because now he's also holding his teammate back. Madwell looking quick. Best case scenario, both Red Bulls get the horse at the same time. But Madwell's going to have to wait for probably another lap. Afro gets past, activates DRS, and it was as easy as it could be. Can't blame the horse driver. Nothing you can do at that point. You just have to sit there powerlessly and watch this car motor past you. Ultra Gamer now down to P2. And he has to worry about another Red Bull. Madwell, P3. Spend so much time focusing on the top 3. They're so close together, we've almost forgot about everyone else. Outside of the top 3, best of the rest, got Hashcar 2 in P4. He's followed by the 2 Mercedes. Virus, who didn't have a great start, fell down the order initially. Now things seem to have stabilized for him. He's followed by his teammate Fricky, P6. Then we get the first of the Alfa Romeos, Visor in P7, Top Gun P8. First of the Aston Martins. Dixie Killer P9 for Williams. We have the pair of McLarens in P10, P11, Louis and Andre. Second Williams of Chums, he's in P12. Two Ferraris not having things the way they'd want. Convoy, he's in P13. His teammate Van, P16. Between the two of them we have Ulrich P14, Pantry Star 15. And then Mr. M in P17. Revolution P18, Atmagozi P19, and Swayster makes up your field. Remember, he was first into turn 1 for your sprint race. Afro leads the way from Madwell. They have now both cleared Ultra Gamer, and it's a 1-2 for Red Bull. Not an image you see very often in actual F1. Two Red Bulls running line astern at the front of a race. It's usually just Max Verstappen, and you could swear Perez was in an AlphaTauri. Two Red Bulls. It'll be interesting to see how does this play out. Will they battle each other? Will they try and get up the road, build up a gap before they battle each other? Or will there be no battling whatsoever and they'll just go line astern to the end of the race, get maximum points on the night? Both of them on the same strategy, so tyres will not be the deciding factor. Just both starting on a set of softs. That is probably your best option if you get an early safety car in the race. Then you can go in, get rid of those softs, and get a free pit stop. If an early safety car is not an occurrence, then obviously you will be one of the first cars that needs to come into the pits. Most of your field, even split, mediums and softs, just the two drivers choosing to start on the hards. That is Andre and Ulrich. They are further down the field, so understandable strategies. P11, P13. They're going to need something special to come up the field today. Either some amazing driving or some very lucky race moments. Ultra Gamer, he hasn't let the Red Bulls go. He's holding on to them. And remember, I said the two leaders, the two Red Bulls, they're on the same tyre. That battle's not going to come down to tyre compound. But this battle here, Ultra Gamer, he's not on the same tyre. He's on a set of mediums. That means he's going to be able to go that little longer, considerably longer, into the race, while those two Red Bulls have to pit. So, the two Red Bulls and the Haas behind them on opposing strategies. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Mercedes doing a good job so far to bring home a handful of points. Virus P5, Ricky P6. First of your Alfa Romeos, Visor in P7, and he's coming under pressure from Top Gun. Closes DRS and just in time manages to get the car stopped into the hairpin, and Top Gun up into P7. And we have the two McLarens, P9 and P10. And Andre, remember, he will be your current top runner on a set of hards. He's in P10 on a very different strategy from everyone else. I see quite a few people are watching. If you're watching, thanks for watching. If you're watching this later on and not live, well, thanks for watching. Remember to leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, shame on you. Subscribe to the channel, and let's grow the channel as much as we can. And spread SKR to some more viewers. Madwell and Afro, they've switched places. Madwell now your leader. And he's, interestingly enough, opened up the gap to his teammate to almost a second. Afro luckily still getting DRS on this lap. When he hit the DRS activation point, he was 9/10, and that DRS enabled him to get a little closer to his teammate, which at one point seemed like he could just run away. 2/10 now. DRS brought him so close. Perhaps if it was anyone else on track, he would have had a different idea, but knowing it's your teammate, it just gives you that extra thought. This will not end well. Further down in your field, Top Gun looking to disturb the two Mercedes in P5 and P6. He's coming up on the back of Fricky. Both on equal tyres, both on a set of mediums. So this has nothing to do with grip. This is now all about pace. And there we go, Top Gun goes through. And his next target will be a car that looks just like the one he passed. That car is Virus in P5. Cartoon, he's in P4. Also on a set of softs. How much longer will those softs hold an advantage? And if I'm being honest, I don't know how much of an advantage they're actually showing to be, because Ultra Gamer, he's fighting to get himself back into P2. I don't know if he's going to get it right this time. Oh, so close. And the Red Bull hangs in there, holds the position for one more lap. Should I say till the next DRS zone. Afro under heavy pressure from Ultra Gamer. Remember, Ultra Gamer on the set of mediums, unlike the two Red Bulls ahead of him. Those two Red Bulls ahead of him are going to have to pit first, and then he's going to have free air in front of him. Seems to be really quick, just being held back by that Red Bull. So if he can clear the Red Bulls, get some clean air and go off into the distance on those mediums, could find himself at the front after the first stint of pit stops. But this will be crucial to that moment. Madwell now getting a bit of a gap, 1.7 seconds up the road, and Ultra Gamer can't get past his teammate. Remember, Madwell and Afro need every little bit of advantage that they can get, because they're going to pit first from P1 and P2. When will that lap time come? We saw people doing the entirety of the sprint race on the soft tyre, so we know the soft tyre can do 10 laps. How much more can it do? 12, maybe 15, who knows? We will see when the first lot of soft runners come into the pits. Now Afro loses a position. Ultra Gamer up into P2 on the mediums. And he seems to be in a very strong position. But all that time it took him to get past Afro. Gaps opened up, 2.7 seconds. And Afro's not given up on it yet. I'm not sure what happened there, but camera angle unfortunately. But all we saw was Ultra Gamer going very wide, and that allowed Afro back up into P2, and all the work, all the frustration of trying to get past that Red Bull and eventually getting it right, it all gets erased, and Ultra Gamer gets to do it all again. Outside the top three, Harsh Cartoon, he's the closest to the top three. He's actually holding on to the top three quite well, just 0.8 of a second away from that third step. Virus, he's a little further back in P5, almost 1.8 seconds adrift. Then Top Gun, P6, and he's just ahead of Frickie, so he hasn't been able to really clear that Mercedes. He's defending from it as we speak. Ulrich P8. Also DRS trains around the circuit. This is the biggest DRS train on circuit. How many cars is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 cars potentially in this DRS train. With a slight break in the middle because of the McLarens. At the front, Ultra Gamer has got past Afro, and this time he'll hope to stay in front of him so that he can get down the road and try and catch Madwell through all the chaos between P2 and P3. That has allowed P1 5.9 seconds advantage up the road. And how important will that be if he does win this race? He's going to have to shake his teammate's hand, because he made life incredibly difficult for Ultra Gamer, and he hasn't let him go just yet. Remember, he just needs to stay as close to that horse as he can. And when he gets up DRS down that incredibly long back straight, it's just going to pull him right back onto the rear wing of that horse. Just let that horse tow you around. Gap at the front, 6.4 seconds. Wonder how much Ultra Gamer may have taken out of his mediums trying to get past Afro. And even more importantly, wonder how much Afro took out of those softs. We know the softs are going to be the first tyres to fall off a cliff, and Afro was defending very hard for numerous laps, so his softs may be a little bit worse off than the rest on circuit. Still 20 drivers on lap 11 of 28. I believe we had 4 retirements in our sprint race, and that was 10 laps long. We are now in lap 11 with no retirements. Great to see. We may not have retirements, but I'll tell you what we do have, and we've got a lot of them. How much is that? That is 6. Wow, I think that's 9 drivers with penalties on lap 12 of 28. Those penalties are predominantly 3 seconds apiece for corner cutting, and then Van, the only man to go over the 3 seconds, he's on 6 also for corner cutting. It's so difficult when it's early on in the race and you know you've already got so many penalties next to your name, just to try and keep that out of your head. Sometimes you're trying to race the car in front of you and you look at your penalties and you think, what am I doing? I should just stay behind this car. And the moment you do that, you're not racing. You're not racing anymore. You're racing with those penalties in mind. And it's just a little something that puts you off. Importantly for your leader, no penalties for the time being. And it's going to be absolutely critical that he keeps it that way. He's going to come in first, but for the time being, I don't think he's going to come in anytime soon, because those softs still look great. He's extending the gap, 8.1 seconds. And there we go, just to, he was probably listening to my commentary and said, well, don't make predictions. You said I'm not coming in. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Your leader, Madwell, into the pits. That's going to surely allow Ultra Gamer into the lead. Yes, Ultra Gamer does not go into the pits. He stays out. He's your new leader. And Madwell, that field was pretty close together, so he's going to get relegated a few places. In fact, he may even lose another place to a McLaren. Does he slot in just ahead of the McLaren? Yes, he does. His tyres may just take a few corners to warm up, and Andre may take advantage and try and grab that position. overall positions, lost positions gained, highest winner of the race so far has to be Ulrich, P5. He's taken 13 positions since his starting position. Ulrich in the Alfa Romeo P5 having a fantastic evening so far. On the other side of the spectrum, Swayster, P17, here he is, he's in the pits, he's having his wing changed ironically. And he's lost 13 positions since the start of the race. And obviously he's in the pits, so that number will extend. And it has so far to 14. And if the Williams of Chums can clear him here, that means that Swayster will be relegated to the final spot on the grid. And if you're wondering why we were following the last two cars on the grid, I wasn't sure why, but we've had an incident. Swayster comes out of the pits. Chums is trying to clear the car that's coming out of the pits. And we have contact into turn 1. No DNFs, no retirements, no yellow flags, so no need for a safety car. But that could have been a more serious incident. Luckily, I think both of them knew in the back of their mind that that crash was a strong possibility. Now, Afro, Harsh Cartoon, Fricky, Top Gun, Dixie Killer, all into the pits. Just shows you how much of this field is on exactly the same strategy. No safety car. And we're at halfway distance in this race. Safety car usually comes out and messes with your strategy a little bit. Everyone has been able to play off their strategy perfectly. An Ultra Gamer. He is now the leader of this race. 4.4 seconds is the gap. And this little next segment of the race is probably going to be the decider if this Haas driver can win this race tonight. He needs to make this gap as big as possible before he needs to come in and get rid of those mediums. Just to confirm, there we go, a lot of drivers actually going on to the hard to finish the race. Ulrich, Henri, Convoy, Fricky, Louis, Top Gun, Visor, Pantry, Mr. M, Dixie Killer, Akmagozi and Swayster, all appearing to be on very similar strategies, ending this race on hards. Chums serving some sort of penalty in the pit lane. He was stationary for a while. He'll come out again in P20. That's after some unfortunate contact into turn 1 with Swayster as he was exiting the pits. Ultra Gamer leads the way, and if you look at that gap, it's actually coming down. Madwell, he is catching up to Ultra Gamer. 2.3 seconds, 2.2 seconds, 1.9. He's catching him at a rate of knots. The tenths of a second are just falling off. And how much longer can Ultra Gamer hold on to those mediums? I wonder if those mediums are just not in working condition anymore. But the way Madwell is just reeling him in now, 1.2 seconds. He's going to have DRS probably within the next few corners. And then defending from him is only going to be even more difficult. On a set of hards since the start of the race, Ulrich, he obviously has made no pit stop. His plan is to go as deep into this race as possible. He's currently in P3. Hard still working well. Ultra Gamer comes into the pits, and that means he's going to have to relinquish the lead of this race. Ultra Gamer also into the pits. There we see Andre also into the pits. We see Ultra Gamer exiting, so he's back out on track. He rejoins the track just behind the Alpine. That is Harsh Cartoon in P4. So Ultra Gamer will rejoin this race in P5 on a brand new set of softs. And I think we know what his plan is here. Hopefully that extra grip is going to allow him to get past the 4 cars ahead of him in a relatively short period of time, and then go on to win this race. But unfortunately for him, Madwell at the front, he has already opened up a 6-second gap. Ulrich looking all sorts of fantastic for the time being. He's in P2, but he'll be wishing he didn't have a mandatory stop ahead of him. Needs to come into the pits. He's going to lose a considerable amount of time. Probably going to come out behind the Mercedes if he were to pit right now. I don't think he will. He's going to be out there for a little longer. Started on the hards. Currently P2. Can't do anything about this man in front of him. He's taking tenths of a second like they're nothing. It's now 6.6 seconds, that gap. Afro P3 in the other Red Bull. He's had a great race so far. Harsh Cartoon P4. And if he looks up at his timing screen on the left hand side, he'll know that Ultra Gamer is right behind him. And he's on a set of brand new softs. This is going to be mission impossible for Harsh Cartoon. What are you supposed to do at this stage when you've got a car faster than you on brand new tyres? We had a yellow flag for a second there, a little pause in my commentary because I was like, wait, is there a... But then I didn't see anyone stationary, and we have no DNFs, so no safety car for the time being. Lap 17 of 28. And Madwell leads the way by 8.2 seconds. That gap just continues to grow. Afro P3, Ultra Gamer now clears Harsh Cartoon, and he gets up into the top 4. Next target, podium position. But the lead may be a little too far away with 11 laps to go. Some coverage for the boys at the back of the field. Chums, he is ghosting, so we can confirm that Chums, the final Williams, is ghosting around the circuit. Revolution, he's in P19. Swayster in the second Alpine. Looked like he was going to have a fantastic sprint race, but those safety cars, they really came out and affected things. But he looked great for the first 2 or 3 laps of that sprint race. Apmagozi P17. A little earlier on in the afternoon, he was your commentator for our special event. But now he's out on track in an AlphaTauri. And he's wrestling the car around for 10 more laps so that he can get to the end of this race. Unfortunately, just outside the points for now. But so many fast drivers in this field that when you have a race that has no retirements, getting into the top 10 is an achievement in itself. Speaking of the top 10, Louis P10, Top Gun P9, 2 Williams. They've been running line astern most of the race. P7 and 8, Harsh Cartoon and Convoy 5 and 6. We have Ultra Gamer P4, and he's on the move. Remember, he's on that soft compound. He's going to have the best tyre in the closing stages of the race, but he needs to make the most of it now. He needs to make the most of it now while that tyre has all the grip in the world. Towards the end of this race, that tyre is not necessarily going to be falling off, but it'll no longer be at peak performance. Needs to get all of the advantage he can right now. Harsh driver looking for a podium, and at one point in the evening looked like a serious contender for the win. Gotta wonder, how important will it be now, all that time it took Ultra Gamer to try and get past Afro? How crucial will that be? If he had been able to clear Afro in a matter of corners and get on with it, trying to catch Madwell, But now there is a gap of, what is that, 18? Let's just have a look. 18.8, call it 19 seconds between Ultra Gamer and your leader. What a night from Madwell. He's leading his teammate by 15 seconds. Identical strategies for the two Red Bulls, both starting on a set of softs, then moving on to a set of mediums, just one lap apart, obviously to avoid the double stack pit stop. So Afro has the slightly fresher tyre, one lap fresher. Convoy, first of your two Ferraris. Ferraris didn't look too fantastic earlier on in the race, but they'll be happy with Convoy's resurgence in this race, able to get himself up the field. Now up to P7, and he's in the DRS of the Mercedes ahead of him. And the Mercedes ahead of that one isn't far away either, so Convoy can still salvage a top 5, possibly even a top 4. 8 laps to go. Remember that whole midfield from P5 down to P9, all on the same tyre, all on a set of hards. Andre P10, it's on a set of mediums, so he should have a slight advantage to those cars ahead of him. But as for your strongest contenders for the race, it has to be the top 4. We have a caution. I have some cars weaving. Do we have a... There we go. Not quite sure what happened there. Well, I thought I saw the cars going awfully slowly. Wondered if it was a virtual safety car, but it seems everything is fine and we're underway. Madwell has lost an incredible amount of time. I'm not sure what happened there. Did Madwell think it was a safety car like the commentator did? I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm almost certain I saw Madwell just going slowly, weaving down the straight, almost looking like safety car conditions. Then realizing it wasn't safety car conditions, and he's got the move on, but now that gap, it was 15 seconds for the lead, 15 seconds over his teammate, but now just 0.6 of a second cover him and his teammate, and somehow Madwell loses 15 very crucial seconds in the final third of this race. Almost looked like Ultra Gamer was going to be out of this, but now he's in a very strong position. Madwell has lost that advantage. He's lost that 15-second gap that was going to make the difference in this race. But can Ultra Gamer get close to the Red Bulls ahead of him? The gap between Ultra Gamer and the two Red Bulls, 2.9 seconds. And I think that's as a result of Ultra Gamer having Harsh Cartoon right behind him in his DRS. When you're looking in your mirrors, it's difficult to concentrate on the cars ahead of you. And that's going to make his job even more difficult, because Harsh Cartoon up the inside in the hairpin and takes Ultra Gamer. Harsh Cartoon up into P3. Ultra Gamer unfortunately going in the wrong direction. He's going down the field on a set of softs. Thought he'd be going up the field in a hurry on a set of softs. For the time being, Red Bull Alpine, that's your top 3. Still 20 drivers on this circuit. I believe Chums, looking at that gap, I believe Chums is ghosting, as is Apmagozi. Seems like Revolution is on track. And as I say, no retirements, we get our first. Started from pole in the sprint race, led into the first corner, led for the first few laps really, but now in the feature race becomes the first and only DNF so far of the night. Swayster comes the first car to retire here in Cota for your feature race on lap 22 of 28. It's going to be interesting now because we're going to get a safety car, and unlike in the sprint race where your field was already quite close together, meaning you'll only get 1 or 2 laps behind the safety car at most, your field here is fairly spread apart and some cars still making pit stops. So we may get up to 3 laps possibly behind the safety car, and if that is the case, we're just going to get a 3-lap shootout to the end of the race. An Ultra Gamer on the softs, surely he should have full advantage, with all those gaps in front of him now being completely shut down. At least Madwell won't have to feel so bad about himself. He lost that 15 seconds, but if he hadn't lost the 15 seconds and the safety car would have come out, he would have been in the same situation. And there we go, pit stop. Your leader, Madwell, into the pits. P2 into the pits. Let's see how Red Bull does this. Will there be a double stack? It turns in, and Madwell gets underway. Very nicely done. Well timed by the teammates. Tell you what, a bunch of cars have come into the pits to go onto softs for those final few laps. But there's also a handful of cars that thought, you know what, I'm going to stay out, take track position, and with 2 or 3 laps to go, who knows how much defending I can do. Harsh Cartoon leads the way on a set of mediums. Virus, he's in P2, and interestingly enough, he's on a set of hards, so those tyres should be able to go comfortably to the end of the race. So Virus could be in a rather strong position for someone who's been running P5, P6 for a majority of the race. Wonder if the drivers that pit will be regretting it. Don't think Mad will be regretting it. He's going to be affected the least. He's going to restart this race in P3 on a brand new set of softs, and his pace is going to be lightning. Noble attempt, Harsh Cartoon and Virus, to hold on to track position, but surely all of these cars, I can't even count them. There's it's probably 16 cars, all on brand new softs. And then at the top of the field, P1, P2 and P4, we have 3 drivers that have chosen to stay out on an older set and harder set of tyres. So they'll be defending for all they're worth. They'll be praying the safety car stays out for one more lap. Means it's one more lap, or one less lap rather, that they have to defend. But surely P1 and P2 will be thrown to the wolves here, because as soon as those softs light up, it's going to be almost impossible. Remember, no DRS immediately after the safety car, so that'll also be crucial for those cars trying to defend. Death Queen's showing some support for McLaren driver, up into P9 now. Andre, top performer for McLaren on the night. Remember, anyone right now in this crazy midfield, I can't even call it a midfield because it goes right down to the bottom of the field. So I'd say from P5 down to P19, everyone is on a set of softs, effectively less than a second away from each other. So we may still see a very big change up. This is Andre, P19, top McLaren so far this evening. His teammate not too far behind, Louis in P12. Same strategy, both on a set of softs. This will be what he sees. A whole handful of cars in front of him. All of those cars will be on softs, so they'll all be just as aggressive as he's going to be at the restart. And Harsh Cartoon, Virus and Top Gun, they'll be looking at the rest of the field on softs, and they'll be scratching their heads thinking, is this the right call? If it is the right call, they'll be geniuses. If it's not, I think they're going to drop like stones to the back of this field. "24 of 28. Still have one car that's pretty far adrift. That is Chums. That car is ghosting, but that car is pretty far adrift, and we're in sector 3. So I think we might just get one more lap of safety car. It's pretty late on in the lap and we've had no confirmation, so definitely one more lap under the safety car. That means we will have 3 laps of racing when we commence. And while we get these perfectly placed safety cars, let's just give it a shout out to our third sponsor at Skr, LMT Accounting. They are obviously proud sponsor for Season 5 of the Champions Trophy. So LMT Accounting, all your accounting services, bookkeeping and company registrations, you can contact LMT Accounting. You can find them on Facebook. Just search LMT Accounting. And let them know SKR sent you. Safety car on lap 25 of 28. Harsh Cartoon, he will be your leader at the restart. But remember, those mediums are 11 laps old, so how competitive can he be? In terms of traction, things are going to be very difficult for him. Not only is everyone else around him on newer tyres, they're on much softer compounds. Even a little worse off than that is Virus and Top Gun in P2 and P4. They're on relatively old hards. And we know that the harder the compound, the longer it takes to light up. So if they take an extra half a lap to get their tyres up to temperature, it's going to be really difficult to hold on to the lead if that is the case. Now the safety car getting down the road, that means Harsh Cartoon is going to start the process of backing up the field. He effectively becomes the safety car for a temporary time in this race. He goes around the final corner, and when does he go? He goes now. I think he caught Virus a little unawares. Nicely done. Look at that. 1.4 seconds is the gap as he goes over the start-finish line. Definitely caught the Mercedes unawares. And surprisingly enough, the Mercedes caught the rest of the field unawares. We have an Aston Martin going sideways. Who's that? That's Pantry Star. He's falling down the order pretty quickly. He's gone all the way down to P9. Virus P2. Madwell up into P3. Your top 3, no penalties next to their name. Hopefully this race will not be decided by penalties. Looking at Ulrich, Afro, Ultra Gamer and Fricky, 4, 5, 6 and 7 in that order. They all have penalties, but those are all 3-second penalties. So they cancel each other out and shouldn't have too much effect on our field. But as for some other drivers, Louis, 6 seconds worth of penalties. And then the Ferraris. Well, the Ferraris have accumulated between the two of them 24 seconds worth of penalties. 15 for Divan and 9 for Convoy. They're giving away extras like the Proteas. Madwell gets past Virus. Remember, Virus was on the hard tyre. We said he was probably going to battle the most at the restart, and he's already lost the position. Ulrich, 3-second penalty. Andre, 3-second penalty. Penalties coming in thick and fast, and that's what happens when you're racing close together. Pushing for every little position you get. Sometimes you just outbrake yourself, run a little wide, go over that white line. You close your eyes and pray there isn't a message on the top of your screen, and when you get that 3-second penalty, it just hurts so much. Because there may be a car right in front of you on circuit, but effectively, that car is 3 seconds down the road from you. Harsh Cartoon coming under all sorts of pressure. It's aged mediums versus new softs. Madwell surely. Look at that, the Alpine getting out of shape there on the exit, just now really starting to squirm around on those mediums. You can see the effects. It's one thing getting a race car to the end of the race when your tires are going off. It's another thing getting that car to the end of the race when there's somebody stalking you in your mirrors. Ulrich retires from the race late in the race, but that will not activate a safety car because it's too late on in the race. So Ulrich becomes the second DNF. Remember, Akmagozi and Chums were both ghosting. And Madwell, very nicely done. Before you get to the ESSA section, takes the lead of the race, and surely now there is nothing that can stop the Red Bull from taking this victory. We're on the final lap, and wouldn't Afro love to get past Harsh Cartoon and make this a Red Bull 1-2? He can do it right after this next hairpin. It's all about who's going to get the better traction. Who's going to get the better traction? Let's ride on board. And well, no question, before we could even get on board, he was going past the Alpine. We have a Red Bull 1-2. And for a long time, it looked like we were going to have a Red Bull 1-2. Then everything went crazy. And somehow, they've landed up together again. P1, P2, with under half a lap remaining. But Fricky, late on in the race, he wants to ruin the Red Bull party. Got awfully close to Afro there, almost made a move. But now just one corner to go. And it's the final corner of Cota, inspired by the final corner of Kyalami. Madwell goes over the line. And because of that penalty, Afro is going to lose a position. He goes down to P3. Way too many penalties for me to try and read this order. We'll wait until the official standings at the end of the race. But what I can confirm is your podium will be Madwell with a victory. Harsh Cartoon, he actually did really well. Managed to hold on to P2. And then Afro in the second Red Bull makes up your podium finishes. Driver of the day, Pantry Star. Let's go to your standings screen. There we go. There are your official standings. Madwell takes the victory, P1. Fantastic job from him. under pressure in certain parts of the race, but got everything right at the end. Then Harsh Cartoon, he benefited from a penalty for Afro. He got P2 at the end of the day. Afro P3. Fricky so close to the podium. P4. Pantry Star P5. Mr. M P6. Andre P7. Virus P8. Dixie Killer P9. Visor making up your top 10. Outside the top 10 we have Louis P11 Ultra Gamer. He was in such a strong position earlier on. Umreed, he's in P12. And then we have Top Gun P13, P14 Convoy, P15 Revolution, Divan 16, Chums 17. And then Apmagozi P18 and your two retirements, Ulrich and Swayster. I want to thank everybody who has joined us this evening, everybody who has listened to me speak to myself since 6 o'clock. That was SKR, that was round 3 of season 5. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place, and we will see you then. To everyone who's watching the Grand Prix later on, do enjoy. 9 o'clock, an hour and a half from now. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't liked the video, please do so. And we'll be back next week. Thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers.